Yes, let's jump into this first story. We have this one from Timcast.com. Second high-altitude object shot down over Alaska. President Biden reportedly ordered the military to down the object out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of the Pentagon. President Biden ordered it to shoot down the object. On February 9th, North American Aerospace Defense Command detected an object on ground radar and further investigated and identified the object using fighter aircraft. A recovery operation is currently underway, conducted by United States Northern Command, according to Ryder, who noted no further details were available regarding a description of the object's capability, design, purpose, or origin. That makes it a UFO, as far as I'm concerned. And that story sounds a lot better. So here's where it happened. Seemingly off in the middle of nowhere in northern Alaska, where the first balloon should have been shot down immediately. But I don't know.
I think it's pretty obvious that the quickness with which they shot this one down, was probably because of the criticism they received about the first one.
Yeah, but...
And Congress just passed the resolution saying anything that comes into U.S. airspace needs to be dealt with basically effectively immediately. And that was the unanimous vote in the House, 2 days ago?
Apparently it's the size of a small car. I don't know. Look, we don't have a lot of information on this stuff, but I'm kind of happy they shot it down.
I would agree.
All right, we're all in agreement. That was great. That's the show for tonight, everybody. They shot it down.
I think one of the interesting details here is that how they leave out the place of origin. I believe they know where it came from, but I think they're not mentioning it where it came from for a reason. And I think that reason is that if you don't say what country, likely China, that it came from, China doesn't really have to retaliate, because then we technically didn't shoot. They didn't claim responsibility for what it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm reading into the details a little bit here in between the lines. I know that's a little bit of reckless speculation, but where this came from matters. We obviously just had the balloon incident with China, and I think there's a reason they're leaving out some details.
Did anyone? I mentioned this earlier. Did you hear about the laser that went across Hawaii?
The laser?
There was a green laser that was it.
What?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
green laser.
Yeah, they said that it was likely a satellite, a Chinese satellite, and I didn't mention it earlier. I didn't.
Oh yeah, look at this. What is that? These green lasers?
And it moves fast.
You're telling me that's China? I think it's aliens.
Whoa.
I mean...
It's Russia. It's Russia, guys.
Matrix code?
Russian, Chinese aliens.
Yep. It is code. The simulation's breaking down, and that is the code. Well, I mean, I don't want to derail, but when I jokingly tweeted that all of this infighting in the alt media space was part of a plan, people were like, really? Because it's so hard to believe it's coincidental. Yeah. And I'm like, nah, we're in a simulation and everything's falling apart. No, but that laser thing's crazy. What is this? I kind of feel like this needs its own segment. We can talk about it. Let's go back to the object over Alaska, because my concern with this is, as I stated with the balloon, and now that we have a lot here, as well as Isabel, I'm interested in your guys' opinions. The way I described it is like somebody's going to rob a liquor store. They don't care that having the gun is illegal because they're about to commit a much more serious crime. China doesn't care about balloons in our airspace, and if we get mad about it, because they're about to commit a much more serious crime.
Isabella?
Right, yeah, no, that makes sense. And maybe some people were not, or they're not saying where the origin of it was from, because a lot of people, like Fox News, was getting criticized because they were able to track the original balloons, like where it started in its entire path. So it's like, well, how did you guys know? And maybe they had someone that's leaked a story or something, but so you guys knew where it was tracking, knew its entire course, but somehow now we're just finding out about it. Somehow people knew something. And I just miss when they were just making the frogs gay, as Alex Jones once said.
That's all they were doing.
Yeah, I think they're trying to make more frogs gay. Actually, that's why our kids are gay now, I think.
That's what the aliens are coming. And,
yeah.
And well, so back in all seriousness, though, World War III a lot? World War III?
I hope not. And
I thought you were going to say I hope so.
No. I hope not. And I think, again, why they're leaving out the place of origin is allowing China to have like permission not to retaliate. Because if we say we shot down, a Chinese spycraft or whatever, they will have to respond one way or another, either deny or not. So
they already condemned. China made a stink about the shooting down the balloon, which I think was fairly ridiculous to imagine that they're in a position to complain about it. But I think that that makes a lot of sense. Not that I have any kind of inside information or anything, but it does make a lot of sense that the giving China diplomatically a way to not retaliate, especially seeing as they did comment on the first one. If it's like, okay, there's a second one, that's a clear escalation.
Because they have to respond if we publicly say this is a Chinese, aircraft that we shot down. They're gonna have to come out with something, and then we don't want it to get into this sort of escalatory ladder where we're doing tit for tat. Because I'm sure we have spycraft in or around China and a lot of the territories around them that they have the potential to take down, that, we don't want to get into that tit for tat.
That would kind of be cool, though, if like an American spy balloon flew over China and then China shot it down. And then like all of a sudden everyone's doing this balloon conflict where balloons are flying all over the place. I would prefer that to actual, nuclear conflict.
Like steampunk World War III.
Nobody wants to escalate, but these are the terms we've set where everyone finds it marginally acceptable.
Yeah.
Like China sent a balloon over, we didn't shoot it down. So then everyone's like, well, I guess we can send balloons. And that's all people are doing. And it's like, balloon over my country.
We need to get back to ping pong diplomacy with China back in the good old days.
What was that?
It was the 80s with Reagan, I think it was, where we had like a ping pong team go over and they some friendly sport matches instead of blowing up each other's balloons and spycrafts over
now
each other's countries.
the NBA is pretty involved with China, so I'm not 100% sure that that's working out the way that ping pong did.
Ping pong. I don't know if we're in the point of diplomacy. So the one reason I thought it'd be great to have you on as well, Elad, is that you've talked before about a unipolar versus multipolar world. For those that aren't familiar, basically, should the U.S. be the dominant force, or should there be multiple dominant forces? I'm kind of worried that you make a good point with unipolar. If the U.S. falls from the top position in terms of military power, economic power, then the likelihood of conflict increases. This is Thucydides' trap. We talk about it all the time. I don't know what the solution is, though, man. And it seems like we're inching towards a Thucydides trap with China, which may be why there are some people seemingly trying to sabotage the U.S. so that we fall before the conflict can happen.
Yeah, I think that there is an argument to be made that if there is going to be a dominant power or a most powerful country in the U.S. or in the world, that it's probably better that it's the U.S., not just because we're here in the U.S., but because like liberal values and liberal ideas do make space for people that disagree. And you can expand that, whether it be regions or different countries, when you have a liberal order versus what would be an authoritarian order from China or from Russia. Like, if not that Russia's realistically going to be a global power anytime soon, they don't have the economy, but China could be. And it's probably better for the world for the U.S. to be the power, as opposed to if the option is the U.S. and China.
Yeah. And to be fair, this doesn't mean that there aren't issues within the United States. Like,
sure,
our country has a ton of issues, but I think when you compare it to communist China or authoritarian Russia or Islamist Iran, there is no comparison. Yeah. There are some people who say, I've been seeing online about how like Russia and China are somehow like the saviors of the world, or how Zelensky's the Antichrist or something. I just think there's a lot of crazy extreme rhetoric going on, and we should double down on our alliances worldwide. That means standing with Japan. That means standing with South Korea, Taiwan, doubling down on what's going on in Ukraine. Every time they have successfully pushing back the Russians, I think we should double down on what's going on in Ukraine. And
you weren't lying about that mustache.
No. And for people who don't know, let me give you the rundown. I'm sporting a Bolton Bro mustache right now. I know you guys are looking, why is Elad sporting this new mustache? I'm trying to follow in the footsteps of John Bolton. And you guys could join the movement. You guys could all do mustaches. Hashtag Bolton Bro on Twitter with pictures of your mustaches. We can move on, though.
Is that a real thing that like
starting tonight it is?
There's one thing
Bolton
about John
Bro.
Bolton. The Ayatollah and Iranian regime think that he is the biggest threat to them. So they put hits on people like John Bolton. And if the Ayatollah views you as one of the biggest threats, you're the person who they're putting a hit on, there's something good about you. I think there's, we should have a rally around the flag type when John Bolton is being targeted by the Ayatollah. So,
are you going to vote for him for president?
I don't vote because I'm a reporter.
Oh, I see.
I abstained. I don't think there's any. Yeah.
For real though?
Yeah. I don't know how you can trust
respect that.
any journalist who ever votes. And that goes from independent all the way up to mainstream. If you have it in the bag for a candidate, then how can anybody trust you? All journalists should abstain.
Newsrooms literally endorse candidates.
Yeah, and I think they should abstain.
I think that's insane.
I disagree. Yeah, I think they should abstain. And
it's always a Democrat. Like there's like 3 outlets that endorse Republicans.
Even the right-wing outlets start endorsing Democrats. For example, the New York Post endorsed Eric Adams, who's a Democrat.
Is the New York Post supposed to be right-wing?
Definitely, yeah. Murdoch owned.
Really?
Yeah, definitely right-wing.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah, I think we have some buddies there too, but...
Yeah. I wonder what the actual likelihood of a real international conflict is. They came out and said they recently discovered that there were balloons flying over the U.S. during the Trump administration, which no one saw, no one complained about. And as far as I'm concerned, didn't happen. It's like if a tree falls down in a forest and nobody hears it, didn't make a sound. It's
I agree. I think it's just making stuff up.
Yeah.
But the interesting point as to what you bring up a lot is that if they came out and said, hey, this was China who did this again, you'd have people screaming some kind of sanctions at the very least. And then, as you pointed out, you get into that escalation. But I don't know.
We also have the semiconductor supply chain war that we have going on in China. Joe Biden just had the CHIPS Act, and I think we banned all Americans from working in their semiconductor industry. You guys should look up an article and read more about it. But the CHIPS Act is huge. And
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.